Right then, what's going on, guys? So before I get into the actual game and what this result means for both clubs, I just wanted to explain why Newcastle deserve all the credit in the world. First and foremost, they're so far ahead of schedule it's frightening. Establishing themselves as a mid-table side, as opposed to one constantly being relegation threatened, was the name of the game this season. Yet they're fighting for a European spot and got to a cup final already. If you go back to when the Man City takeover first happened, it took them about 3 years to challenge the established top four. Yet this lot are doing it in less than one, which is ominous signs for the rest of the league. Breaking down Newcastle's campaign thus far, they've lost the fewest game amongst all 20 teams in the top flight, with both defeats coming against Liverpool under dubious circumstances. The first was at Anfield, where they were leading through Isak on debut. They really should have gone 2 up, but then the kid, who was running the show, goes off injured and they concede a couple of goals, one of which is in the 8th minute of added time. Meanwhile, their home defeat saw them play with 10 men for 70 minutes and, as Jamie Carragher pointed out on air, would have likely clawed their way back into the game had Nick Pope not got sent off given the number of chances they were creating. Obviously, there's far too many draws in there, but being hard to beat is a prerequisite for becoming a top side. Now, Newcastle's loss of form going into the final was as untimely as possible, with no wins in 3, largely due to the absence of Bruno Guimaraes. Man United, on the other hand, had all the momentum behind them after beating Leicester and Barcelona at Old Trafford. Needless to say, it's disappointing Newcastle couldn't capitalize on the fact that they only had 3 games to play between the semi-final second leg and the final, while Man United had 6, but I suppose it was evened out by the fact that every single Man United starter had previous cup final experience, whether it be at this club or another one, while Newcastle were essentially the polar opposite, and it really showed. The game itself was actually fairly even, a cagey and drabby affair in some ways, as most finals tend to be, with Newcastle having a lot of the ball, but Man United the ones with meaningful shots on goal in transition and from set pieces. A lot of the chatter pre-match was about Karius being in goal, but for someone who was quite literally making their debut for the club in a cup final and playing their first professional game in 2 years, I thought he did really well. In fact, Callum Wilson was far and away the biggest disappointment. I'm not sure what happened to him in Qatar, but Isak has to come into that 11 until the former finds some semblance of form. In hindsight, San Maximum probably should have run at Dalot a lot more in the first half after the latter picked up an early booking, because there was simply no getting past Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the second 45. For Man United, there were no real outstanding performers per se, but plenty of good ones in the form of Varane, De Gea, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Weghorst, and the aforementioned Wan-Bissaka, which was enough to get the job done on the night. This begs the question, are Man United back? In my eyes, until we win a Premier League or Champions League, we can't fall for that kind of narrative, because there's been plenty of false dawns post Sir Alex before too. That being said, it does feel completely different under Ten Hag, and I have no doubt whatsoever that this man will take us back to where a club of this stature should be in the not too distant future. Honestly speaking, given how utterly fucking woeful we were last season, I was expecting a top 6 finish with some half-decent football as a sign of progression, but instead we look like we can go toe-to-toe with anyone, which is remarkable to see after just 6 months. I'm buzzing and haven't enjoyed watching football this much since about 2013, so long may it continue. Before I end, and you can quote me on this or screen record by the way, because I really am that confident about it, there will come a time when Newcastle have to beat Man United in order to win silverware, and will do just that. While there does appear to be a bit of a curse after yesterday and all the crunch defeats in the 90s, I've seen this story before with Chelsea and Man City, whereby one is a perennial underdog before investment comes in and takes them to the very top, which obviously means above Man United. At the risk of getting too far ahead of myself, I think Man United will then rise to the challenge, as they have in the past, and we'll see a rivalry which lasts for several years. As always, please do let me know what you made of this video down below, as well as the match itself, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.